This episode of Fluid Power Forum is sponsored by IFP Motion Solutions Incorporated, the leader at engineering electronics into fluid power distribution. IFP spans the 13 central states from Minnesota to Texas. For more information, visit ifpusa.com. This episode of Fluid Power Forum is also sponsored by Endeavor.ai. Endeavor.ai automates order entry, quoting, and the quote-to-cash process. Win more, sell more, and save time, all without adding headcount. Head to endeavor.ai to learn more. Welcome to Fluid Power Forum, a podcast of the National Fluid Power Association. I'm your host, Eric Lanke, and it's my job to interview interesting people who are moving fluid power technology forward. If you'd like to be part of our show, please follow us on LinkedIn. You'll find us there at the National Fluid Power Association. And make sure to share those interesting and innovative uses of fluid power with our online media hashtag, #OnlyFluidPowerCan. If you see an interesting application of fluid power and you want to learn more about it, share it on social media with that hashtag, #OnlyFluidPowerCan. And you just might hear it discussed on a future episode of Fluid Power Forum. Also, please subscribe to our show. You'll find us on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, all the other popular podcatching services. Wherever you find us, subscribe to the show and then give us a quick rating. Those ratings really do help promote the show and allow more and more of our friends in the industry to join in on these important conversations. On today's show, my guest is Andrew Johnson, co-founder of a company called heavytech. Only a few years old, heavytech is focusing on pushing the envelope in affordable, hybrid, and electrified agricultural equipment. And Andrew is joining us in the forum to talk more about his company, about the progress they're making, and how he sees the future unfolding. So, Andrew, welcome to Fluid Power Forum.
Yeah, thank you, Eric. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
I'm glad to have you. I think we bumped into each other at the ConExpo trade show not too long ago. We're recording this in late March of 26.
We did, yeah. As usual, that was a hectic trade show floor, but we did manage to run into each other and talked briefly there.
Yeah.
Great place to reconnect with folks in the industry.
Well, there were a lot of innovative agricultural machine designs, more construction, I guess, at ConExpo, but I'm excited to talk more about what you guys are doing at heavytech. Hopefully you can tell our listeners a little bit more about yourself. What's your background?
Sure.
How did you find yourself doing what you do?
Sure. Yeah. It's a real interesting, long story that starts with the lowly O-ring. My father actually started an O-ring distribution company in 1982.
Okay.
And that was my genesis. I was born in 85, so my whole life was really wrapped up in the O-ring world.
Yeah.
As a child, my dad was a big proponent of child labor, so I frequented the O-ring company and did various.
Only children that he's related to, I'm hoping, right? So.
Yes. Big proponent of child labor and in the familiar sense.
Of course.
Yeah. Put his kids to work, and so me and my three sisters. None of them really had any huge passion for O-rings, which I can understand, but they did, in a very unique set of circumstances, ended up marrying entrepreneurial men that every one of their husbands now works at the O-ring company.
Wow.
So it's a very unique family business scenario, and that company is located in Kansas City, where I'm at. And one of the big reasons I've stayed anchored here to Kansas City is that company. And that was my introduction into the National Fluid Power Association. Actually, O-ring Sales and Service was a National Fluid Power member for many, many years. And I ended up at National Fluid Power Association trade shows and events and networking events and had a wonderful time.
Well, there's a lot of O-rings in fluid power systems, obviously. So, we were happy to have them as members. And that's how we first got introduced. But you are not working there anymore, or what's the next step in your journey?
Yeah, the next step was the industry in general, the industrial distribution industry for quite a while now has been trending towards a value-added service model, as this is maturing. I think we're all figuring out that it's not good enough anymore to just sell parts. You have to add value to the customer's situation.
Sure.
So one of the biggest value adds that industrial distributors have found is inventory management, on-site inventory management, more specifically. So my brothers and I kind of found ourselves in a position where, as an O-ring distribution company, we had to find a better way to sell the O-ring to the customer, and not just box it up and ship it to them, but that we had to offer a higher level of service. And so through a long season of exploration, we ended up creating a whole new system to do just that, a value-added service that we now call Shelf-Aware. And so the birth of Shelf-Aware happened somewhere around 2015, and the O-ring company, O-ring Sales and Service, started offering Shelf-Aware to NFPA member companies and as a way to manage their inventory. And as that grew, it became clear that somebody had to lead that. So I departed O-ring Sales and Service in kind of a full-time day-to-day capacity and started pursuing the totally different world of software as a service. That is Shelf-Aware. And so that's where I've been for quite a while now, is with Shelf-Aware. But despite leaving, the day-to-day of O-ring Sales and Service, I don't think I'll ever really get the fluid power industry out of my blood. There's probably hydraulic fluid in my blood, and I continue to attend some of the National Fluid Power Association meetings and stay connected, of course, with some friends, really good friends that I'd made through those professional networking events. And really a big part of the heavy tech genesis, the next stop in my professional journey, was the National Fluid Power Association meetings and continuing those relationships.
Well, there's a lot of dialogue that takes place at those meetings across the supply chain. So it's good to hear that those kinds of connections are helping you guys. Tell us a little bit more about heavytech, about this company. That it's a new company, right, that you guys have founded?
Yeah, just eclipsed 1 year. So we're just babies. We're a little baby company. We're a manufacturing company, so it's my first foray personally into the manufacturing space in a kind of management overseer role. I've always been on the supply side, never on the build it side. So that's been fun and interesting and full of all kinds of learning experiences.
New challenges.
It was really, like I said, a company that was birthed through a variety of inputs. And a lot of those conversations did happen at NFPA events, but we were essentially, me and some of the other co-founders have been dreaming, talking, discussing about where we thought the fluid power industry should wind up when it came to electrification. And we had a lot of ideas, and some of us, and amongst, there's 5 other co-founders, so six total that started, that founded heavytech a little more than a year ago. And many of us had different ideas, we had similar ideas about how the fluid power industry should, come together on this electrification thing. And several of us were trying to sell some of those ideas or encourage some larger companies to do these things, and just found ourselves continually kind of running into dead ends and a lot of friction and a lot of pushback. And so eventually we coalesced and together said, well, if nobody else is going to pursue this thing, somebody has to. So we're going to do it. I know it sounds crazy, but we started a manufacturing company from scratch, and that's our plan, is to bootstrap the whole thing.
And what is the product? Like, what is it that you guys are making?
Well, it's the whole machine. What we wanted, we wanted somebody to start from scratch. And so we're focused on really the compact track loader for a variety of reasons. But we have 2 other machine designs. There's an articulated loader and a mini excavator. And the approach is just ground up. So they're all original designs, from the cab layout, and every aspect of the machine is original to heavytech. And we felt like it was the only way. So there's just so many theories kind of floating around about what electrification is going to look like. And what we came to realize, I think we knew from the beginning, was nobody's really going to believe the theories until somebody just does it. So we felt like somebody had to put it all together. And we're very much in an industry that wants to see it proved out in the real world at a work site.
Well, it's a whole.
So that's what we set out to do was build that compact track loader. We're about 80% of the way done building the initial prototype of the compact track loader. It's a diesel electric hybrid. So our approach to electrification is hybridization. And that approach really started very focused in the fluid power, because you cannot address electrification of the off-highway equipment space without first addressing hydraulics, because they are the heart and soul of all of this equipment.
Yeah. Yeah, we've had a lot of folks on the podcast talking about innovations, for lack of a better word, happening in the hydraulic system because of its new, or still fairly new, connection to the electric power source on these vehicles. And it's interesting. I want to hear more about your perspective on that, because, like you said, you're taking a ground up approach to this. So many times in the, yes, they're designing the vehicle from scratch, if you will, but they're still using, I think, the mindset and the basic exterior design of what has been present. You guys are taking a completely different approach, right? What kinds of things would we see different, than we might imagine in our heads because of that ground up approach that you're taking?
Well, it starts with the hydraulics, like I said, and that approach to the hydraulics is really from another NFPA member company called Terzo Fluid Power, and they years ago had come up with a small point of use electric hydraulic pump, and so that's really from the fluid power standpoint, the heart and soul of our machines. And then we have some unique and innovative designs in thermal management. So that's kind of the other aspect that the industry has to figure out, is if there's any sort of large battery on a large off-highway system and you have a high duty cycle, which we want to accomplish with the hybrid approach, then we're going to put out a lot of heat. There's a lot of heat generated in these electric gensets. And so we had to come up with, a thermal management system. So there's another company that one of our other co-founders had pursued called Xirro, Xirro.
Yeah.
And has everything to do with thermal management. So it's really, you can see kind of a bit of some stepping stones that allowed us to put it all together into this one singular package called heavytech. But a few companies kind of predated that.
So you mentioned, I think I heard you say you're like 80% of the way there in the design build process for the product.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. So
the bootstrapping approach was kind of crazy. We started with crowdfunding.
Yeah.
We just closed out our first crowdfunding round just at the beginning of the year, and through that very successful first crowdfunding round, raised plenty of money to start building our compact track loader prototype. And we're actually building that in Fort Wayne, Indiana. We have a small facility up there, and anybody listening to this that wants to, see the cutting edge fluid power product, they're welcome to reach out to us. And if we have the time, we'd love to, give folks a quick tour of the facility, because it is very much with the crowdfunded approach, there's lots of people involved. If you're going to bootstrap something like this, you have to, have the crowd enthused. They want to have to see it built, and they want to, have excitement around purchasing this piece of equipment or see themselves in it.
Yeah. So
that's what we're doing is building the compact track loader, turning the wrenches. I'm not the guy turning the wrenches. That's why I think I'm having the most fun. It's because I'm not the guy doing all the dirty work. And I also have to be careful because I'm not the engineer either. So if you got into some very technical questions, I'd probably get myself in trouble.
Yeah, I'm not the engineer either, as listeners know. So
fantastic.
I've learned enough to be dangerous, I think, when it comes to asking questions about fluid power systems. But
same here.
So this will be great. We will definitely put links to your contact information and probably your website in the show notes for this episode. So if there are listeners who want to reach out to you, that's the best way for them to do that, to access that information. What do you think some of your successes have been in this process so far? What are you uniquely bringing to the marketplace as a result of this process?
Yeah, the early successes that I can talk about, a good example of one of those would be in the positioning of the attachments to these machines. So, the mini excavator, the articulated loader, the compact track loader, they all have kind of appendages, moving parts.
Right.
And one of the one of the very tricky parts of the fluid power industry is trying to tell the system where those arms are, where those appendages are. And we've historically done that in the industry with sensors and encoders, which they're great, but they give us, they're expensive to accommodate, in the design and build, and they're expensive to maintain, and they do add quite a burden. And you got to collect all that sensors from all over the machine through, additional wiring or plumbing. And to simplify the whole process early on, because we were going from the ground up, decided we would take a brand new approach to this, and we created essentially an algorithm. I know it's probably a wildly overused term, but it's a segment of the artificial intelligence that we used to interpret a large series of photographs from a scaled model of our articulated loader to train this algorithm on the position of that articulated loader's bucket by just using some simple inputs from a single camera. So in the scaled version, the actual full-size machine, we think it'll take 2 cameras to do this, but with 2 inexpensive cameras, we should be able to tell the system in real time where its appendages are, whether it's a bucket or a boom or it's some telematics, within just a few millimeters. And that intellectual property, we think would license it to the industry, and it might not entirely replace sensors and encoders, overnight, but it would certainly give machine designers and users confidence to move in that direction of using less sensors and encoders, at least for a period of time, maybe an overlapping system. But the 2 inexpensive cameras would have a lot of advantages long term, and then also be able to hopefully also work towards the future goal of assisted performance, meaning maybe not a cab without an operator, but an operator that's assisted by the machine itself to perform the functions of the machine quicker, safer, more efficiently.
Yeah. Well, so let me make sure I'm understanding what you're saying. So the prototype has cameras, 1 or 2, that is looking at, quote unquote, the positioning of the actuated device on the end of it. And that visual data is being fed into some sort of algorithmic black box that interprets it and then controls or it has the ability to affect the performance of the fluid power system that's moving the arm. Is that what you're describing?
That is what I'm describing.
Okay.
So initially, like in its simplest form, it would inform the operator about the exact position of that, let's say, bucket.
Right.
But the next step would then be to not only inform the operator, but then allow the operator to build some functionality on top of that information, and perhaps capture like a hotkey, I guess would be kind of a layman's term. So let's say, I'm not an experienced compact track loader operator. And so if you put me in the cab of this thing and you said, hey, Andrew, take this pile of dirt from here and put it in this dump truck, I'm going to struggle. But if the experienced operator hopped in the cab first and demonstrated the operation to me and then saved the technical portions to a hotkey, like the actual dumping of the dirt into the dump truck, and then said, look, when you pull up to the dump truck, all you have to do is pull up to the dump truck, then hit this hotkey, and the machine will actually raise, tilt the bucket to the exact angle, and dump the dirt into the truck. That would be like an example of how you could use that positioning to push towards the functionality of automation.
And the machine then is using the visual feedback from the cameras to make sure it doesn't bump into anything when it's performing those automated functions.
It could at some point when combined with some other inputs, but at first it wouldn't actually be looking at the external environment. It would just really be looking at the arm itself, but it would ensure that the arm would be put back in the exact same position in the bucket itself at the same angle.
Well, again, I'm not the engineer, but this sounds like a serious innovation in the market, right? Because you're not using sensors then of any kind.
Correct.
You're not monitoring through the temperature, the flow, the position through a bunch of wired sensors. You're doing it with the video feedback or the visual feedback from the cameras.
Yeah, real-time feedback from 2 inexpensive
That's
cameras.
Great. Yeah, I'm sure there's people who want to learn more about that and how that might work. So
we have what's cool is, if they wanted to learn more, we've gone to a couple trade shows now and demonstrated we 3D printed the scale model of our articulated loader, every piece of it, and then can demonstrate in real time the algorithm. It's essentially a dashboard at this point that accepts the visual inputs from the scaled model.
Mm-hmm.
So users, anybody interested, we can hand them essentially a video game controller. They can drive this scaled model of our articulated loader and then watch the dashboard as it intakes all of these images from you playing around with the scaled model. That's how we taught the system.
We'll continue with our guest in just a moment, but first I want to tell you about an opportunity to engage in the future of fluid power technology. Two of NFPA's most active committees are our two technology task forces, one focused on mobile applications of fluid power, the second on industrial applications. Each of these task forces work on a series of projects that help us better understand the technology trends in these sectors and help us develop the resources and connections that will be needed to keep fluid power positioned as an actuation technology of choice on both mobile and industrial platforms. The Mobile Task Force publishes a series of reports. Their latest was on ways to design more energy-efficient fluid power systems for mobile equipment with electrified prime movers. The Industrial Task Force also publishes reports. Their latest was on ways to minimize and prevent leaks in fluid power equipment. And they have also completed a year-long project that created an independent technology roadmap specifically for fluid power in industrial applications. All of these resources are accessible on our website at nfpa.com/technology reports. But more important is your ability to participate on and engage with the technology professionals that serve on these task forces. New working groups are forming now around the use of sensors and data analytics in fluid power systems, as well as many other cutting-edge technology advances. These task forces are a great example of NFPA's effective forum in action, with NFPA members across the supply chain and an increasing number of their OEM customers actively engaged in creating the technology strategies that help all of their businesses grow. To learn more and to get involved, contact me at elanke@nfpa.com. I was wondering if you could tell us more. I mean, you've mentioned a few names so far, but some of the other partners that you're working with. It's interesting that you're getting help, if you will, from so many other NFPA members. So tell us a little bit more about who's contributing what to this process.
Sure. Yeah. On the co-founder front, there's a bunch of experience on our co-founders team, but the main NFPA experience would be myself and Mike Terzo. There's a couple of gentlemen that have some specific fluid power experience, but those would be the main two guys. From a product standpoint, with all the connections that Mike and I and some of the other co-founders have in the fluid power industry, we were really quick to ask help of many NFPA members and get some of their products on our early prototype. And they were nice enough to, it's hard to go to any manufacturer and say, hey, I need one of something, to build a prototype.
Right.
It's a lot of work, and they sell one unit. So thankfully, people, I think, are itching for this type of innovation. So we've found some very open-minded product specialists and various products that we need to complete our compact track loader build that are more than willing to spend lots of their own time and engineering and human manpower and intellect to help us make this compact track loader the best prototype it can be. So I guess shout out to some of those NFPA members. I don't know actually if all these companies are NFPA members, but I'm just going to rattle off a few of them that are top of mind.
I'll let you know.
Okay, yeah, you let me know. But like our track and wheel drives, they came from Poke Hydraulics.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, good. Our engine for our genset's a 25 horsepower diesel engine from Kubota.
Okay. Engine manufacturers are not eligible to be NFPA members, so that's not. That's not one. But certainly that's in the mobile machine space. Totally.
That's yeah. They would have lots of interaction with our members, with the members of the NFPA. JW Speakers is a small company we got a lot of our LED lights from the cab and for our surrounding lights. a company called Shields is where we got our polycarbonate windows from. Mercal and Innovation Controls is where we got all of our operator touchscreen displays from, and Progressive Power has helped us a lot with integration support on some of this stuff.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of to name a few folks that have helped us.
You mentioned early on that you started with a crowdfunding model, right? I'm imagining that some of these folks were part of that, or not.
A lot of these companies wouldn't be, but the crowdfunding was literally just individuals like you, Eric, and individuals that we knew from work and personal life. It's just farmers, ranchers, other business owners, people that were in like the landscaping space. Really, we're trying to get, from a crowdfunding approach, our approach is trying to get future customers interested in helping us see this thing to fruition, so that they then could become consumers of this equipment that's going to be safer, easier to operate, quieter, more efficient. Obviously, that's number one. It has to be more efficient, return on ROI for the consumer. So those were I think most of the contributors in our crowdfunding round were just normal people.
So what is your short term timetable for kind of next steps? What's the future look like? How soon will we see this in production?
Well, like I said, we're almost done with the compact track loader prototype, and you better believe that once we get that thing powered up, if it's everything we say it's going to be, then we're going to be itching to get it out in front of the real world and demonstrate its capabilities.
Sure.
So that is hopefully months away from getting completed. And if you or listeners wanted to see progress and pictures, because pictures are worth 1,000 words,
absolutely,
they can go to our I think probably our LinkedIn page. Honestly, on LinkedIn is probably our company page, heavytech's company page.
Okay.
Probably the best place to get kind of sneak peeks at where we're at on our roadmap, which is the production of this compact track loader prototype.
Yeah.
Once we get that done, well, from a co-founder standpoint, the guys involved will have to kind of divide and conquer, and some of us are going to have to go out on the road and promote this compact track loader, put people in the cab and demonstrate its functionality and the design improvements we've made, and all the claims we've made. We're going to have to prove those. So we'll be busy doing that, and then the other folks on the design side ambitiously have to continue to iterate that compact track loader design and get ready for production. Our plan is to just go to scaled production in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Yeah. We think we found a good place in America, right in the middle of things, that can provide a great home for us to grow heavy tech from 1 unit to 1,000 units and then 10,000 units. Yeah. Right there in Fort Wayne, Indiana, has an incredible manufacturing history, manufacturing ecosystem, and actually our current small space is a sublease of our motor winding provider. So there's a lot of existing industry there that what I've found is they all are very interested in supporting new guys, new industry players. They want to see manufacturing start from scratch in the USA, and they're very keen on helping us. So Fort Wayne's been a fantastic home for us so far.
Yeah, that's great. There's a lot of communities like that that are really turning inward, if you will, from a perspective of building it here and helping that happen. So I'm wondering, maybe in closing, can I ask you to comment on? You said diesel electric hybrid is kind of the main architecture for your product. And that's one of many choices that are out there in terms of this electrification trend that we're seeing. And I think a lot of mobile equipment manufacturers are experimenting with things. Like, what do you see as kind of the future? Have you picked the right thing to focus on with that structure, or what are some of the pros and cons that you might think about with regard to that?
Yeah. I think the way to answer that question is nobody knows.
Yeah.
And and the prize is going to go towards the bold, the individuals that put their best guess out there, and just start to build these systems and let them play out.
Sure.
So I think that at the heart of it, at the end of the day, me and the co-founders, guys at Heavy Tech, we're all about just doing it, and we just wanted to prove our ideas, prove these claims, and see them come to fruition. So yes, our best guess is that that the hybrid solution will be the winner in the next decade in the off-highway space. It just has the right mix of electrification that's going to give users all the efficiencies they want and some of the features they want, quiet, no emissions or low emissions, safer, better visibility, because we don't have a central hydraulic power unit blocking a lot of our view in the cab. Those are all things that the industry is going to want, the features they're going to want, but with the hybrid approach, we can give them the duty cycle that they want so they can run this machine hard. And we also think that with that hybrid model, they'll be able to buy the machine, the heavytech compact track loader, at a very similar price point to the industry current diesel model favorites. And that to me is extremely important. If you're going to build a product for ranchers and farmers and landscapers and small construction companies and people building roads and bridges and retaining walls, it has to make financial sense. At the end of the day, the unit you produce has to be competitive with units in the field at similar duty cycles, while also delivering all of these fantastic features. And we felt like diesel, electric, hybrid was the way to go.
All right. Well, that is going to wrap things up for this episode of Fluid Power Forum. My thanks again to Andrew Johnson of heavytech, who has been my guest on this episode. As I said before, if you want to connect with him, the best way to do that is to send him an email, and we're going to put a link to his email address in the show notes to this episode. Remember, if you like our podcast, and we hope you do, please follow us on LinkedIn. You can find us there at the National Fluid Power Association, and you'll get all kinds of updates on the show and other activities of the NFPA. And make sure to keep sharing those interesting and innovative uses of fluid power with our hashtag #OnlyFluidPowerCan. It's a great way to showcase the exciting developments happening in the fluid power industry and to let us know the kind of topics you'd like to hear us talk about on the show. Fluid Power Forum is a podcast of the National Fluid Power Association. I'm your host, Eric Lanke, reminding you to join us next time in the forum.